Turning a page then, we'll look at Book Arts Center. Thank you. We got one that caught it. So again, we'll have an opportunity to look deeper into one of the innovative organizations in our community, this time with Jeff Abshear, who is the Executive Director and founder of Kalamazoo Book Arts Center. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you. The Kalamazoo Book Arts Center is celebrating its 10th anniversary. We started 10 years ago. A group of artists and writers got together to conceive of this idea of building a book arts center in Kalamazoo. Book art centers have been in existence in other places around the country. Large cities like San Francisco and Minneapolis have book art centers, but they're rather rare in small communities like ours. The idea behind them is in the last 100 years or so, the printing industry has changed so much with this transition to everything going to first photographic processes and then computer processes. And all of this equipment, this old-fashioned equipment for letterpress printing or paper making, was essentially being thrown away. So the technology that was used for hundreds of years to make books was just being discarded. So artists and writers started collecting this material and creating community centers to restore this idea of making handmade books, and also to use this as a way of getting people excited about books and about literacy and about art and about craft and the making of books. So we founded the Book Arts Center 10 years ago, and just a few weeks ago we had a celebration of our 10th anniversary with a retrospective of the work of Paul Robert, who was one of the founders of the Book Arts Center as well. Paul was a paper maker and donated his paper making studio to the Book Arts Center. But we have this very large facility in the Park Trade Center building that is a complete facility with all the aspects of equipment that you need to make paper or to make prints or books or book binding or letterpress printing. And we're actually very rare here in Kalamazoo to have this. I've been, in the last 10 years, traveling a lot other parts of the country and also to Europe. I'll tell you more about that in a minute, but talking about the Book Arts Center, and I repeatedly get these questions about how did we manage to create such a thing here in Kalamazoo. In fact, we have created this network of people through the use of Facebook and email that are essentially people all over the United States and in Italy and Germany and other places that are kind of watching us with amazement. I have people at conferences coming to me asking for my advice. How do we create this? But I really don't have an answer to that. It was just basically good luck. There was all of this equipment here, some of it from Western Michigan University, some of it from local companies, and we were just in the right place at the right time. I mean, Kalamazoo has a history as a paper city and as a printing city, but also as a city that really values education with our universities and our strong education programs. And so we were just in the right place at the right time to kind of pull all this stuff together. This is Paul Robert, and this was in the very beginning, 10 years ago. We just decided that we would go for this, and we issued a course brochure to see if there was any interest in people getting together to make books by hand, and we were surprised to learn that there was. In fact, our very first workshops filled up, and in the following Sunday in the Arts and Entertainment section of the Kalamazoo Gazette, we ended up on the front page. So we sort of made this big splash all at once. Here we are, a Book Arts Center. And at that time, however, we were in the Park Trade Center building, but we were sort of separated into several different small spaces. But we decided that we would go big, and we rented the main space in the front of the Book Arts Center, which was basically just a big warehouse area in the Park Trade, and we started to build the Book Arts Center. And the first thing we did was we had to tear up the floor to create plumbing for our papermaking studio. This is a 150-year-old building, and that dirt had not seen the light of day in a very long time. And then we started moving in all of this very heavy, big equipment and slowly putting it into place. And now we have a state-of-the-art studio in the center. This is the printmaking area where we do any kind of image making or letterpress printing. This is an image of Katie Platty, who's the studio coordinator, who is working on a letterpress right now. And then this is our paper making studio, where we can make paper of any kind and any shape and size. In fact, we have the biggest and best paper making studio in this part of the country, thanks to Paul Robert. So we started kind of with a big bang. We were there all at once, but also with our programming. We've been having for many years now an internship program where we work with college students from Western Michigan University and from Kalamazoo College who come to us for a semester at a time and earn academic credit to work with us. This is one of our interns pulling sheets of paper. But the interns become kind of like our workforce. And part of the concept of the Book Arts Center is to be an educational center for people of all ages. So we work with people from the very youngest ages, kindergarten. In fact, in about 2 weeks, we're also going to work with pre-kindergarten students, all the way up through adults and senior citizens. And all of the different kind of age groups and levels contribute towards the educational environment that we have. So the college students end up assisting teaching the high school students or the elementary school students, and everybody gets a little bit of experience in education that way. One of the programs that we've had for the last 8 years is called Poets in Print, and we collaborate with writers from the poetry and creative writing program at Western to bring in poets from around the U.S. to do poetry readings. In anticipation of these readings, we work with artists to create what are called broadsides. They're printed images, like a poster with a fine art print and then a poem. This is an example of a broadside that was created by Vicki Van Ameden, who is now the head of the printmaking program at the KIA. So we make these prints, and then during the readings, the poets come and sign the editions of these prints, and we sell them at the Book Arts Center. We now, after 8 years, have over 100 of these broadsides printed, so that gives you an idea of how many poets we've brought into Kalamazoo from all over the country. They're not just local poets. We happen to have a Poets in Print reading this coming Saturday. If you're interested in coming and see one, we have Hedy Habra and Diane Seuss reading. But then last year we also embarked on not only printing posters, but also small limited edition books. This is a book that was written by Conrad Hilberry, who emeritus professor from Kalamazoo College. And this was printed on paper that we made by hand in the Book Arts Center. The college students helped us make this paper, print the pages and the poetry for this accordion-style book. This is the third book that we've printed, and we have other manuscripts that we're working on now. Another program that we've had that we're sort of famous for is edible books. This is actually something that we didn't invent. It's an April Fool's event that happens every year in countries all over the world. Book arts centers and libraries host this event. The way it works is we ask people from the community to bring in books made out of food. And then we have a contest, and we have a judge that decides the best of the edible books, and we also have a People's Choice Award. And then after we announce the awards, we eat the books. It's always a fun event, and we've been doing this for many years. We never quite know what we're going to get, but here's a couple of examples. This was from some years ago. This is Naked Lunch, or A Clockwork Orange. This one actually had a moving clock. That clock actually works. This one's always fun. This is P Gnocchi-O, a ring of gnocchis with a P in the middle. Surprisingly enough, even this was eaten, these raw gnocchi and peas. Here's a shot of people devouring the edible books, and this is also an event that children love. We also have a gallery at the Book Arts Center, and we host exhibits all the time, many of them of artists that create books or prints or paper. This is a show that we have every year called the Illustrated Accordion Event, and we have accordion-style books that come in from all over the world now to participate in this exhibit. Sometimes we get up to 100 books come in. And then in the last few years, we've also built a retail store to sell the products that we make, handmade paper and books and journals. But one of our biggest programs is the education program. We've been working with kids from the public schools, from the Boys and Girls Club, from the Parks and Recreation Department. We also have done programs here in the public library, making books from scratch. Part of what distinguishes us, I think, from other book art centers around the country is that we've recognized very early that one of our focuses was not only just the craft of making books, but what goes inside of them. So the literature is a very big component in what we consider to be our mission. So we have kids making books, but also writing the content that goes into these books that they create. So we've had programs where kids come to us and they first make handmade paper to create covers for their books. Then they make prints using simple printmaking techniques to illustrate the stories and poems that they write. We contract poets who come and work with the kids to write poems and stories. They also learn how to do printing, and then they end up actually using the old equipment to print the title of their book on the cover using movable type on the letterpress. Then they bind the books together by hand, and in the end of the program, everybody goes home with a copy of this book that they've all written, illustrated, made the materials to create it, bound it together. And the magic thing about a book, of course, is that when a little kid makes a book, puts it on a shelf at home someplace, it's possible that 10 years down the road, that book will still be sitting there. So a book is kind of like a time machine that becomes this thing that becomes very, very important for a child later on. We also have, here's a shot of a group of kids that have made books. And then we also have poetry readings for the kids. The kids' parents and friends come. The kids get up at the microphone and read the poems that they've written in these books. And this is always one of the best events that we have, because when these kids come to us in the very beginning, they really don't know what they're getting into. They're a little nervous. They're kind of, this is a strange place with all this weird equipment. By the end, they behave as though they own this place. They march up to the podium with pride and read the poems that they've created. So it's a pretty marvelous thing. The other educational program that I've been involved in is I'm an adjunct professor at Western, and I lead groups of students to Italy, Western Michigan University students, to study the history of printmaking. So we go to Venice, Verona, Florence, and other cities, and the students get to work in traditional printing facilities like this one in Venice. They also use antique equipment. They set books by hand that they write and illustrate, print the pages by hand, bind the books together. This was a group of students that were there this summer, and they work with movable type like this. They make posters like these. And then this is the publication that they created this year. So as I said, these kids that are in college, they get this really great experience learning about the history of books, but then they pass it down to the kids in high school, elementary school, and there's this kind of cascading effect, I think, for people getting excited about books and about literacy and about learning. So how can you get involved in this? There are a number of different ways. We offer workshops for the community where you can take a class in paper making or printing greeting cards or making small books, learning how to make a book. We also offer group workshops where a company or a group of friends can coordinate together to come and take a group workshop all at once. We have many events, as I'd mentioned. We're open every month at Art Hop with a new exhibit, and we have Poets in Print readings every other month. We have the KBAC store where we sell the products that we make in the store that helps to support the Book Arts Center, including handmade paper and books and prints and other things. One big thing for us is that we're really making an effort right now to make sure that the local community even knows that we're here. I mean, even though we've been here for 10 years and we've done this great job of letting people in other parts of the country or even in Europe know that we're here, there are a lot of people in Kalamazoo that don't even know we exist. And we're really struggling to try to overcome that. So even just telling people about us and getting people excited about the idea of a book arts center would be important to us. Also, I'm willing to give presentations if there are groups that want to learn more about us. I'm very willing to come and give a presentation about what we do at the Book Arts Center. We have volunteer opportunities. We're always looking for new board members or committee members for our events and fundraising activities. We also have lots of projects going on always with kids, and if you're just interested in coming and helping out with hurting kids, that is also a good opportunity to volunteer with us. And then, of course, donations. We are a nonprofit, and all of our financing is based on grants and donations. Obviously, financial donations are important to us, particularly donations for our education fund, which goes directly into these activities that we do with young kids, but also just materials. Sometimes people have paper or old art supplies that they don't need anymore that they used to have when they had little kids. We certainly can always use those in the programs that we have. And the last thing I wanted to say too was that right now, the Gilmore Foundation is matching any donation that's given to us until the end of the year. So that too is another reason why if you donate to us, it will double the impact of your donation. More information about how to contact us, you can find us online at calbookarts.org. Thank you very much.